Good morning, and welcome to episode 26 of Ask Elly Intuitive Insights and Your Questions Answered. Today's episode, we're going to answer some questions that have been sent to me. We're going to talk about astrological influences. I'm going to share a success story with you. We'll talk about intuitive living and how that leads to exponential living, and we'll dive right into that. And to start our session today, I'd like to introduce those of you who don't know me. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Elly Molina. I'm an intuitive advisor, a concierge consultant. I'm the author of the Amazon best-selling book, Children Who Know How to Know. And I am available for readings and consultations. And you can find me at my website, which is ellymolina.com. And so with that, I look forward to today's show and our engagement. You are always welcome to call in at any time if you're on the show live with questions and comments, and we'll just take it from there. So I've decided to put some structure to my podcast today. And the first thing we're going to talk about just real briefly are some astrological influences happening this week. So the first thing that we're going to feel is the Mercury trine Neptune in Scorpio Pisces that happened yesterday. So we're under this influence. And what that is, that our minds are highly creative. So if you had some creative ideas soar through your head yesterday and you had some thoughts, jot them down. This is an excellent time to be working on projects, especially imaginative projects and obviously creative projects. Great time, great timing. We stay relatively quiet until Thanksgiving Day, and the moon is going to be in Aries. So be careful with what you speak. I'm going to recommend that you do some conscious speaking. Hold your tongue if you need to. Just be careful, be aware of what you're speaking and what your intentions are as you speak. When you make your comments, what are your intentions? Be mindful, be cognizant of what the effect is that you're going to produce, especially if you're celebrating with family. Okay, then we have Mercury sextile Pluto on the 27th. And then we have Venus opposite Uranus also. So this is a good day to avoid sensitive subjects. It could be a good day to even just stay alone, kind of chill, continue to do your imaginative projects, and then let your energy rip and roar out on the 28th, where Mercury sextiles Jupiter. And this is just a great day if you want to go shopping. It's a great day. I'm going to tell you, support local. We need to support our local businesses at this time. And so if you're not going out to support your business, please support them using online shopping. Only the idea is please support your local businesses. And then the exciting news is that Neptune goes direct in Pisces, and it's been retrograde since June. So we're going to be gathering a lot of clarity about certain things that are coming. Anyway, it's going to be an exciting time astrologically as we head towards the winter solstice and the Jupiter conjunct Saturn in Aquarius winter solstice, the grand mutation on December 21st. But we're going to get closer to that later. And so moving right along now, this brings me straight into questions that have been submitted, which I'd like to share with you. And I'd like to welcome everybody who's on the podcast right now. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And I'm so excited to have you. So please ask questions at any time. And here we go to question number one. Question number one was submitted by Barbara out of Maine. And she writes, a friend recently reached out with an opportunity to co-develop a real estate project down south. I have been working on a branded concept for years that seems to fit the location. However, I'm getting mixed messages about the partnership and intentions. I'm currently stalling the progression, reluctant to release the full magic of the concept before knowing our interests are aligned. The question here is, do I share my full vision? Will this be a fruitful partnership? Is this location in down south worth pursuing? So the answer to all of this is layered. So we're going to start, Barbara, we're going to start with the location down south. So um, for the sake of anonymity, Barbara has specified where it is. However, I'm going to keep that private. And Barbara, I know from having worked with you before, I happen to know your chart. And so I'm just going to share with you this location is perfectly suited for you to do a business project. Actually, you will excel in this area for your business. In terms of trusting and sharing the full magic, well, that's a business choice. And I'm going to just tell you from a business standpoint and from consulting, one never reveals the full magic until everything has been really made clear, the lines have been defined, and you know exactly what the partnership is going to consist of. And this, again, is created. So you can create this partnership. Everything is done in the mind. So we look at everything is created twice, first in your imagination and then in reality. So one of the first things that you want to do is decide, make an intuitive decision. If this is a partnership that you feel comfortable in, only you can psychically know how comfortable you are in this partnership. You also want to look at subconscious beliefs that you may have about your relationship to other people in partnership. And that's something to spend some time digging into, so the answer to this is layered. Your location is wonderful. Revealing the full deck? Absolutely not. Trusting the partnership? This is something that takes some intuitive work. It's going to take some subconscious work on both your parts, and it's going to take conversations, and it's going to take elevated conversations for the highest good of all. So it looks all in all as if this can be a very, very wonderful partnership, given that you work within certain guidelines and parameters. And um, if you do have questions and concerns about relationship and partnership relationships and any kind of subconscious things that are going on, that would be a wonderful time to tap into working with a hypnotherapist or someone who can deal really well with your subconscious, which will bring me to another topic in a few minutes. Okay. I intend that answered your question, Barbara. And again, as always, I am here. You can email me. You'll get your discount for your session, and we can look at this in detail, see what's going on. Good morning from Germany. We've got a listener here from Germany. Thank you so much. I know that it's nighttime for you, so really thank you for being awake and participating on this call. I'm so honored and happy to have you with us, and I wish you and your family and all of those that you're visiting a very, very happy Thanksgiving. How wonderful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please comment. Please type it in the box unless you want to call in. Okay, moving on right now, I'm going to, as I said, I've decided that I'm going to start adding some structure onto this podcast. And so today, now that I don't have any more questions for this morning, I'm going to move right into a success story. Last week, I shared a success story about a young woman who followed her dream and her passion and now has her book published, and one can read all about her exciting stories and her adventure and even participate in her retreat center in Costa Rica. And if you are interested in that, please refer back to episode 25 of Ask Elly, last week's success story. And today, I'm going to talk about another success story, which ties in with Barbara's question about partnership and how much to reveal and what to be sharing. And this, of course, brings us into our subconscious beliefs. And I'm going to call her a colleague, a mutual client. We share each other's work. We're clients of one another. We are colleagues, and now we are becoming friends. And I want to share her success story. She has an amazing book coming out in January. It is called Wishcraft. And what Shauna Cummins, that's SHAUNA what Shauna Cummins speaks about in her book is all about using wishcraft, using your mind to create what it is that you wish for. Now, I have personally worked with Shauna, and I can just say she is amazing. Her hypnotherapy projects are amazing, and I recommend all of my clients to her. And I've also worked with her one-on-one in her wishcraft sessions, and her guide to manifesting a positive future is going to be released January 26th. You can get it on Amazon. And this is such a wonderful, wonderful guide. And so if you're looking for results and you're looking for magic also in a different way through hypnosis, through the working with your subconscious mind, great book, great success story, very proud of her. And again, I'm always here to share success stories with you because we don't hear enough of them. We get to hear a lot of things that fail, and we get to hear a lot of celebrity stories, but there are so many people here on the planet who are up to wonderful things, and I do believe we need to know about them, and we need to share their success with one another. And I just got a comment here. So good morning. Thank you, Elly. I love your podcast. Thank you so much. This makes me extremely happy. So with that being said, if anybody has any questions or comments, I'm going to move into the topic for today, which is all about intuitive living, which leads to exponential living. So a lot of buzzwords here, and let's take a look at what it is to live intuitively. Intuitive living is when we allow ourselves to be guided by our intuition and by our other senses. And in order to live intuitively, we need to start reframing the way that we speak to ourselves in our self-talk. And we also need to start to look at the way that our culture and our hereditary conversations come into play. Because I'm going to call it one of my favorite lines really is that we speak dead people's conversations. We think for the most part that we're saying something really unique and that our thoughts are our own. But in honesty, we are really regurgitating the conversations that have happened decades ago, even centuries ago. Go back and look at literature spanning hundreds of years, and you're going to see we continue to have the same thoughts. We continue to have the same perspective of looking at things. We even continue to perpetuate some old myths as truths. And this goes back and dates back hundreds and hundreds of years, when in fact the quantum field and epigenetics has proven otherwise. And so we know scientifically through the quantum field and epigenetics that these diseases that science likes to consider hereditary are not just hereditary. They're not just in the genes. It's a little bit longer. This is epigenetics. You want to look into this. So it is there in the body. It does not mean, or it is not guaranteed that you will inherit it. What you do inherit are the beliefs around it. You do inherit the conversations around it. You inherit the fears around it. You inherit the emotional upsets around these conversations. So you inherit the beliefs, the fears, the feelings, the thoughts of your ancestors. And that is where we go to start to look. And so beginning to have that awareness that I am not speaking my own words, I'm not actually having my own thoughts. I am going to start to reframe what it is that I want, what it is that I'm looking to do. and I'm going to create a new picture for myself and a new life for myself. And I'm going to start at the very beginning. And that's going to take it's going to take work, and it's going to take conscious work and awareness. So to begin with intuitive living, the first step that you would have to do is to have an awareness of what your thoughts are, what you're thinking, and what you're speaking. And that requires being really consciously present to what it is that you're thinking, speaking, and even feeling. Ongoing awareness. That's number two. Then, after you have the awareness of what you're speaking, thinking, feeling, then what happens is you're going to need to start to tap into your intuition. And that is learning to identify the feelings that you have that are not coming from your five senses. Again, this gets into your belief system. A lot of times people will say, oh, if I can't see it, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it because I can't see it. And, one of my favorite quotes over here or thoughts is, you don't see what's happening behind your head. And does that mean that it's not real and that it's not happening just because you can't see it? And so this is really something to consider. You don't see what's going on behind you. You don't see what's going on 8 feet to the left of you. What would it take then for you to be able to say, oh, I can't believe that. I can't see the results. Well, then this is going to take practice in awareness again. It's going to take knowledge. It's going to take trust, and it's going to take faith. And great quote is that faith is the currency of God. And that is really what it comes down to. It is faith. And so now, once we start to look at what does it look like to live intuitively, what does that look like to start to use the other senses, the senses of feeling, the senses of those hits that come to you, those words that you hear sometimes with that telepathic message, that connection, that synchronicity. This gets into awareness. So now you need to become conscious of this. This is a little digression over here, but I've had people tell me that they've never had a telepathic experience where they've thought about somebody and that person has called them or shown up in their life. And I'm going to tell you, I don't believe that. I just believe that I am almost positive that that person just has no awareness that they were either thinking of someone else when that person called. A lot of people are not conscious of their thoughts. A lot of people are not conscious that there is another voice inside their head running the show. And for people to realize that there is this monkey mind that is constantly chattering in the back of our minds, and that is not us, and that is very separate from the present and from psychic work, that takes something. And it takes something not only to pay attention to that, but to learn to even recognize and to acknowledge, oh, you know what? That's just not all of who I am. That's not me. And that awareness is incredible, especially when someone gets that awareness that there is so much more to them than the monkey mind running the show, that they can actually step and become the observer of their life. So getting back to intuition, that is part of intuition, is recognizing that you are not your body, that you are not your monkey mind thoughts, and that you have control over what it is that you're thinking. And now you start to take a look at your awareness again, and you direct your awareness to see things using your eyes that you have not seen before. And so now that'll turn around into using the reticular activating system. If I tell you, look for yellow cars, you're going to look for yellow cars. You're going to find yellow cars. Then I look at you and I say, how many brown cars did you see? And you're going to say, oh, I didn't notice because you told me to look for yellow cars. Exactly. So we see what we look for. We see the evidence that we are searching for. And so if you're now going to start to live intuitively, you're going to have to redirect your focus to start to look for the evidence of what it looks like to live intuitively. And this is really living as present in the moment, in the space of nothing, in that void, as possible, and quieting the monkey mind. Now, Once we start living intuitively and we start practicing this, this leads us to learning how to live exponentially. And when we live exponentially, the growth, the growth happens so quickly. I'm going to talk to you a little bit in a second about the penny story. Our growth becomes so quick that life becomes, quote unquote, magical in its full sense. And that is magical, intuitive, and exponential living. And that is very different from living in a linear world, binary world, where what you see is what you get, and the old way of thinking. Um, I got a little message over here just to digress a little bit. Lightbright, who's joined the conversation, said that her mom started teaching her to tune into her intuition at a very young age. And that is absolutely beautiful. And that is something that I believe all parents need to do with their children. And that is one of the reasons I wrote Children Who Know How to Know, and created an entire program called Psi Kids. That's PSI-KIDS. This is where I teach children and adults how to live and how to live psychically and intuitively. And it's an entire program, resource guide for teaching your child and yourself how to live psychically and intuitively. So thanks for sharing that, Lightbright. And it would be wonderful that when you are a parent, if you are a parent, that you then also start to begin to teach your own child or children how to live intuitively and develop their psychic abilities. As we are all born with psychic abilities, we are all born with extra sensors, only we do not use them. It's really, think about, if we were to take someone who came from a very, very rural part of the world and brought them into a room and say, turn on the light, and they've never experienced a light switch, they're going to sit in the dark. When the light switch is there, it's available, it's ready for them, and all they need to do is turn it on. And yet, if you don't know that that light switch is there and that light switch will provide electricity, you will sit in the dark. And so it is with our intuitive abilities and our psychic abilities. We are all running around, not all of us, but predominantly many, many people are running around out there unaware that they have the power to turn on that light switch at any moment if they would only learn how to use it and learn what to do with it. So this again takes training, it takes awareness. And Lightbright said, I'm teaching them, but I don't feel like they are taking me seriously. Okay, so don't be offended with what I tell you over here. Take yourself seriously and treat this as a serious subject for them. You don't have to get all in their face about it or pedantish. However, take yourself seriously in this and turn it into another way of looking at their abilities and their human potential, so that it is absolutely a serious subject. And that when you take it as a serious subject, then they'll take it as a serious subject. So for example, if you were to teach someone how to speak or to teach them how to read, it would be it would be a serious subject, and you'd approach it with a great amount of seriousness. And so that is the same with intuitive development and psychic ability. This is a serious subject. It's not some sort of fun activity that we do on occasion. And if it is, that's great. Then it will remain a fun activity that you do on occasion. Some people hate reading, and what can I tell you? So once we treat it as very serious and we take it seriously, and we have a serious attitude towards it, other people will take it seriously as well. And you're very welcome for that. Kind of reminds me, just a little aside, when we take ourselves seriously, other people will take us seriously, which brings us back to as within, so without, as above, so below. And so if you want other people to take you seriously, you take yourself seriously. You want other people to respect you, you respect yourself. I'm not saying that that's any of related to you, Lightbright, but it was a teaching moment. So I just had to get it in there. Okay, back to exponential living and living intuitively. So remember the story of the penny. If we were to give a young child a penny and then we were to double the penny every single day for 30 days, do you know that by day 31, that child would have, hundreds, thousands, 16,737,418,000 and 24 cents. That is exponential living. Now imagine taking that concept, combining it with intuitive living, and then watch what happens. This is where we learn how to quote unquote part the seas. Sometimes we say to ourselves, oh, you know what, I've got to save up money. It's going to take me X amount of time to create enough money so that I can have a down payment on a house, and have so, et cetera, et cetera. And so one approaches it through the linear mass, very, very linear mass to mass realm, which is the way that most people live their life. And so they'll join into the conversation, which is, okay, I want to buy a house. It's going to take me X amount of days, working at X amount of dollars. And that linear thinking does not allow for intuitive living, nor does it allow for exponential living, nor does it allow for the magic, nor does it allow for thinking big and having this happen from a very different way. That's like saying, I can't see it because it's not in front of me. And so what would it take? What would it take to start to live from that space of intuitive living, saying, hey, I want to buy a house. I don't have the down payment at this moment. However, I'm going to do what it takes. I'm going to change my frame of mind, my reference. I'm going to change my language. I'm going to change my consciousness and my awareness so that I have the down payment for that house within 2 months. Now, if you were to say that and truly believe that, it is possible for you to have that. What will happen is your thinking will switch. And again, this is where the intuitive living comes in. Your thinking switches, your experiences and your perspective start to switch, and then you will start to attract through the quantum field. You will start to attract the experiences, the people, places, times, circumstances that you will need in order to bring that money to you or to have that house become yours. Now, you have probably heard thousands of stories out there of people who have manifested things like that. And they'll always tell you that they believed it was possible, or they'll even say to you, oh, I don't even know how it happened. But there was something in their conversation, there was something in their self-talk that differed from the way that they normally either speak to themselves or look at situations. There was a change. And when people are conscious of that and then really learn how to make that work ongoingly, to like really set up a goal for yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to have XYZ by this particular date, and then learn the structures of what it takes to change your speech pattern, to change your awareness, to change your consciousness, and then you will have the results that you're looking for, guaranteed. And this brings me to some of the work that I have done with clients and continue to do with clients. And while we don't necessarily call it exponential living, the results that they get are exponential. Amazing things happen for them. Book deals show up. You want to call it book deals out of nowhere. Buildings show up. Buyers show up. Properties show up. Men, women, spouses, partners, all kinds of what I call magical things happen. Oh, someone gets a job. They didn't think they were going to get it. They tweaked it a little bit. We worked together. We tweaked what was happening. We tweaked their thoughts. We tweaked their vision. And then lo and behold, I get the phone call. I get the text message. I can't believe it. I got the position. Believe it. Just believe it. This is the world we live in. And when we can start to look from a greater perspective as just that between what we see with our eyes and our five senses, life will truly become magical. And with that being said, I'm going to be offering a workshop beginning in January. It will be a 4-week program. I will be teaching what it takes to live exponentially. Enough of this living just in this linear thing, waiting for Godot, waiting for people to fix this problem, waiting for a savior, waiting for others to solve our problems. I'm going to be teaching people who are interested in learning what it takes to have the life that they say they want, that they really say they want. Because we could say we want something, but that doesn't mean we really want it. So if anybody's interested, please make sure that you email me. It is elly@ellymolina.com, or contact me via Facebook, Elly Molina, or again, email elly@ellymolina.com. So I thank you all very much for joining me today on this podcast. I wish you all a very safe and healthy holiday, Thanksgiving. If you're celebrating alone, be grateful that you have your health and that you're celebrating alone. And just know that these days too shall pass. So it's all how we look at them. Okay. Thank you all again for being here. If you have questions next week, ask Elly. I will be here again, same time, same place. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone on this call and listening in the future. Take care. Love and blessings. Bye-bye. Thank you for being here.